Brenda J. Lilly here from Creative Consultations. I just wanted to put out a small disclaimer before we launch into today's video that says I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm just here to engage, to encourage, and hopefully empower other artists to go out and live their art dream. So here we go. Enjoy the video. Well, good Monday morning, everybody. Brenda J. Lilly here with Creative Consultations, and it is time for another Monday morning kickstart on this, the 13th of January. This is the second week of a new year. I hope you like this video. If you do, subscribe to the channel, like it, give it a thumbs up, and share it with everyone that you want to encourage to keep on becoming who they were created to be. All right, I'll see you on the flip side. Well, good Monday morning, everybody. I've got my big blue cup of coffee and I am ready to rock and roll. I hope you are too. Let us begin. I want to talk today about community. Now, before you say it, I already know we've talked about it before, but there's so much going on in the world today, so much happening, and there's so much conversation right now happening about this idea of community that I think it's really important that we sit with this idea and talk about it a little bit, talk about it a little bit more. It is a worthy subject to talk about. So I work with an organization called ACT International. And my European director, Diane, has done a deep dive researching this idea of community. What is community? And so I will be using some of her research. So I thank you, Diane, for going ahead of me and being ahead of the curve. And I'm going to use some of the thoughts that you put together for our community and use it here with Creative Consultations community. See? Community, breathing life, just in that moment. If I wasn't in community with Diane and with our ACT colleagues, I wouldn't have this information to give to you today. Community is vital. It breathes life into our lives. It keeps us going. But I don't want to jump ahead of myself. Let's talk about what the word community, what it's derived from. So, did you know that the word community is derived from two words, common unity? Maybe you did. Maybe this is not new information for you. And if it isn't, then huzzah. But if it is, think about it for a minute. Common unity. In order to be in community with people, you have to have something in common that brings you together and then creates a sense of unification, a sense of unity. And that idea of common unity creates a group of people that then are with and for each other. Now, it might be a community that it ebbs and flows, it grows and then it goes, or it might be a lifetime community, right? How is that possible? Okay, so think about the different kinds of communities that you might be in right now. You have kids. If you have kids and they're in school, they have friends that are of the same age. They have friends that are in band or in chorus with them, or in the musical or in the sports groups. You become a part of that group of parents. That is a community. Now, that community ebbs and flows. It goes and grows. It grows and goes. Because eventually your kids will graduate and go on to their own thing. You won't always be in the PTA. You won't always be a band parent. You won't always be a football parent, a baseball parent, right? Because eventually they graduate and they go on to the next thing. So this is why I always caution my parental friends not to just be that parent, but to have a community of their own, not just with their spouses. That is very important, but a community of your own so that you are continuing to grow as a human being, finding something in common with other folks. So when that temporary community goes out of its natural order, you still have something left. You have another community of support, another community keeping you going, thriving, and keeping you excited and plugged into life. It's important. We have to understand communities for what they are and what they bring to our life, right? Okay, so community, common unity. We get that. Moving on. What do communities bring to us? Communities bring emotional support and practical help. Now, the last time I talked about community, I do believe I brought this example up of how we can't be, no man was meant to be an island, right? Like, I couldn't do what I do here if I hadn't created a community of people around me, friends who I feed into their life and breathe life into them, and they in turn help me and breathe life into me. That's community. We are a group of people who have common things together. And my community has multiple things that we share in common, from theater and the arts to our faith systems, right? Some of the people in my community have even another level of community that they have with each other because they're parents of kids of the same age. All different little pieces of community, but we all have something in common. And I said the last time I was talking about community that I couldn't survive without it. Man, and that is such a truth. I can't. No one can survive without a community of people, without a support system, both emotional and practical. Practical being, I'm 5'1". My ceilings are 10 feet high. If I get on a two-step ladder, I still can't reach the ceiling. So I can't change my light bulbs. That's practical help I need. Who do I call? I call my 6'7" Dutch friends. Half of the time, they step on the first step of the ladder and that's all they need. Seriously, it's crazy to me, but that's who God created them to be. They are just tall people. And I'm so grateful for them. I have light because of them. Yay. That's practical help. When I needed to buy a car, I called on my friends to come help me car shopping. I had never done car shopping here before. And so to have someone to go with you just to support you practically and to be able to talk to the dealers, and this was so important. It was such a support to me. I'm so grateful for it. So community starts out of this common unity that we have, but then we need to allow it to grow. If we really want to be in true community with each other, we have to practice open, honest, vulnerable relationships with one another. And when we do that, it brings emotional support and it brings practical help. It also brings community, also contributes. It doesn't create, but it contributes to a person's sense of self, of identity, and belonging. And these are important things. We need each other. Community brings a sense of identity and belonging. So when you lose that community, like these natural disasters, these wildfires in LA and the hurricanes in the South, when those natural disasters decimate whole communities, the people have lost more than stuff and things. Their sense of identity and belonging can be shaken because they've just lost a huge community, their neighborhood, the people that they turn to help them, like to go the old adage, go next door and ask for a cup of flour so that we can finish the cookie recipe. you know and people think nowadays, oh, that doesn't happen, but it does. It really, really does. If you are in true community with your neighbors, that absolutely should and can happen still today. And so when you lose that out of no fault of your own because of a natural disaster, what a gigantic loss that is. But, and here's a huge but, because I don't want to get lost in the weeds here. Because you have that sense of community, because you have that sense of belonging, because you've created that powerful gathering of unified thought and powerful gathering of people, when you look beyond the loss and you remind yourself about the wonder that it was and is this community of people, because people isn't a place, people isn't a thing, people aren't a building. You realize there's hope, because we might have lost the buildings, but we haven't lost each other. We still have each other. And so I watched it happen time and time again as these people were being interviewed this past week in the wildfires. And they'd lost their house, their neighborhood, their community. And when they started talking about the community, all of a sudden this little light of hope came into their eyes. And they said, we'll rebuild, because that's what we do. We're a community of people. We help each other here. That was so powerful to me. It was so powerful in the face of such chaos and just absolute destruction. There was just this inkling of hope of, we can do this together. Together we'll get this done. And that is what community brings. Community brings a sense of belonging, of identity. This is who we are. We help each other. Practical help, emotional support, empathy. Such a huge thing. Not to try to solve everybody's problem. That will come. But to sit with them in the midst of their loss and their grief, community does that. Community sits and helps us emotionally, invites our grief in, doesn't exile us because we are grieving a loss, but brings us into the fold. So important. Community is so important for these things. Community improves mental and physical well-being. What am I going to say about those two things? I have multiple communities. And I can honestly say, when I go into those communities, they're more like families than anything to me. And so when I go into the fire choir, and whenever I went into fire choir, I was just a ball of joy, because I love music. I love singing. I love choir. I love choirs. I've always loved choirs, the sounds. the harmonies. They're just so beautiful, and it fills my soul with joy. And that joy just overflows. And yeah, hello, mental health. But I was also standing on my feet for 3 hours singing, physical, walking my dog, getting to know that community of dog owners, getting fresh air, mental health, getting fresh air and walking, physical health. My stage life theater community, again, mental health. You come in, you're drawn in, and you start working on this thing. Whatever is going on in your life, you get to just release for a few hours while you rehearse and you run around and you play and you talk about artistic thought processes and things. It's magic. It's a family. And then there are those days where we have to load in, load out, set up. Man, I'll tell you, that is a physical workout. Physical, mental well being. Community also brings and builds resilience. I was just talking about this point about the folks who have lost everything in a natural disaster and looking at, they're looking over the rubble that was their house and their community. And suddenly there's that spark of hope that says, we're going to rebuild. We will rebuild. We're going to make this community come back to life. It builds resilience. I'm watching from afar my little town in Massachusetts rebuild itself, remake itself, reshape itself into something wonderful. And they're bringing back this sense of small town wonder and community. They're doing all sorts of events which don't necessarily create community, but they create an opportunity to bring your communities together and bring your community together. And so they're creating opportunities that people will, of all different kinds, will come to. They had a Ren Fest last summer or spring, really. It was April, wasn't it? And it was just such a huge new event and thought process. They have an outside a band shell now, and they use that in a community garden to walk through, and walking trails and biking trails, and they started, oh my goodness, they started a thing called the Toy Town Trolley. So they have a downtown like small bus that takes people from one side of town to the other, but all the way up to the shopping center in Ringe so people can get groceries. This is amazing. This is a town taking care of its people. This is a town making place for community. New small businesses are opening up, and cafes and little restaurants, and it's just wonderful. Community brings resilience. My little town could have lied down and died, but instead it chose to rise up and say, how do we make this better? And yes, it's taking years to change thought processes, to change stuck in the mud, this is a horrible place to live mentality, to what a wonderful little town we have. It is hard to fight back those negative Nellies, honestly. It is hard. It is a constant struggle to deal with the pessimists of society who constantly say, oh, it's not possible. This will never happen. Oh, well, this place sucks. Yeah, there are going to be those people. And maybe you don't have anything in common with them. Maybe they're not a part of your common unity, but there are other people in your community who you will share things in common with. And that brings resilience. When you come together and you have a like-mindedness and a common goal and purpose, man, a community becomes unstoppable almost. Community brings resilience. Community, this is the last point, and then I'm going to shut up. Community reduces loneliness and promotes collaboration. Now, as an artist, the word collaboration just fills my heart with joy. I love to collaborate with people. And collaboration, in and of itself, reduces loneliness. So why not, artist friends? Let's collaborate. But when you are a vital part of a community, when you have decided, I have this in common with these people, it might be as simple as they're my neighbors, but I'm going to get into relationship with these people. And you start practicing real relational community where you care for one another, where you love each other, where you help one another and take care of each other's needs, whether that be changing a light bulb or someone needs groceries. Or even deeper, someone needs a ride to a doctor's appointment or a ride to the airport or whatever it is, whatever the need is. When we take the time to build these really important relationships, there is no need for loneliness. It's one thing to choose to be alone and have some quiet time. It's another thing to be so alone that you don't know anybody, that loneliness comes in. Community beats that back. And trust me, when I first moved to the Netherlands, I knew one person here, one. And she was busy a lot. I had to find my people pretty quickly. And I thank God that I did, because it's another country with another language. I didn't have a husband or children. I didn't have a natural group that was for me. So I had to start a new group. Luckily, because I am an introvert, being alone doesn't freak me out. I got to be quiet. I got to watch and learn. And that out of that watching and learning, I got to grow in community and found my way to community. And I am grateful for that community. I will always be grateful for the community of people that I have found here and every single community of people that I have created along the way. I still have people in my life from high school. It's amazing when you create real community with people, how your life just grows and thrives, and you don't have to fall into any sort of sense of loneliness. And it promotes collaboration. My last point. We collaborate with one another. We help each other, whatever that is. You have a project, you need help, your community comes and helps. If you're trying to put your garden in and it's a big garden and you need help sowing the seeds, your community can come over and help you sow your garden seeds. You need to build a chicken coop and you've never done it before, but you got 3 friends who are carpenters. Well, guess what? They'll come over and help. They're your community. It may look like a set from Oklahoma because your carpenter friends are theatrical carpenters, but hey, so what? The chickens will love it. Collaboration, community, common unity brings emotional support, practical help, contributes to your sense of identity and belonging. It promotes mental and physical well being. It builds resilience. It reduces loneliness, and it promotes collaboration. My friends, get into community today, real community. Stop giving it lip service and start practicing real community. Build deep, abiding relationships with one another. It's so important. All right. Have a great week. I'll see ya next Monday. Hey, thank you so much for watching our video. I hope you liked it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, subscribe. What are you waiting for? All right. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Bye.